Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Now, a few months ago, I took out this Mark V Golf R32 DSG for a bit of a test drive, and I might have said some harsh words about it. I think the words ham sandwich and boring came up quite a lot, all resulting in a pretty biased conclusion from me that I don't like Golfs. But after a bit of time in the Golf, I was softening to it a bit. And in the end, I actually had quite a good time driving it around. The real question though was whether or not an automatic gearbox has any place in a hot hatch. Well, today we're going to find out the answer because we have our very own Mark V Golf R32. This one, however, has the 6-speed manual. So I thought, let's take them both out, have a bit of a play, and see if we can come up with any useful consumer advice. Because we're good at that here. Should we go for a drive? So I'm going to start off in the DSG just to refresh my memory. If you saw the last video, you'll remember that I came away from that first drive almost a bit surprised at how much I enjoyed the Golf. I still wouldn't say that I would rush out to buy one personally, it's just not for me. But no, I was very pleasantly surprised. So 250 brake horsepower, 320 newton meters of torque, and of course, an absolutely awesome exhaust note. Volkswagen really got that right, and that was probably my biggest takeaway from this car actually, is just how much I enjoyed blipping the throttle and just listening to that exhaust note. And my big question really was whether or not an automatic gearbox belonged in this car, and whether it's an age thing. I'm in my mid-30s now, and I'm a little bit lazier than I used to be 10 years ago. I actually really quite enjoyed having the DSG. That twin clutch system just made driving a car like this, certainly in traffic, that bit more bearable day to day, I would say, without making me feel like I was missing out on being able to sort of rack through gears and just really enjoy myself and have a good hoon. So I'll be very interested to see what I make of this car when I'm in the 6-speed manual later. It's a very clever system in this car actually. So it's a front-wheel drive car, but thanks to that Haldex technology, whenever the car feels it needs to put down a bit more, it will send some power to the rear and essentially act as if it's 4-wheel drive. Volkswagen of course have switched to using Quattro now, VAG's proprietary system, rather than the Haldex technology, but it's much of a much, certainly in my eyes. It does the job just fine, but no, this is a Haldex jobby, this is, and it's very good. See, a bit jerky pulling off then, little bit jerky. Very smooth when you get going, but yeah, a little bit jerky when you're pulling off. Lovely growl you get from a V6, and I think save for about 15 degrees of tilt is all that saved this engine, this V6, this VR6, from becoming an inline 6. Brilliant. And on this road, perfect. I remember saying when I first drove the R32 that one of my biggest criticisms of the Golfs in general was that they're just heavy, and a shade over 1,500 kilos. That might not seem that much by today's standards, but when we pulled this car out of storage, it was sitting next to an E36 BMW M3, and I couldn't believe it, but I could swear that this car was both wider and almost as long as an E36 coupe, and that is just ridiculous for a hot hatch, or any car really. I know modern cars, they're just getting bigger and fatter and wallowier and more terrible by the day. It's no secret that I don't particularly care for modern cars. But it did surprise me just how big the Golf has grown over the last 3 decades. Ah, more roadworks. Deep joy. Doing some more bang up job of doing pothole repairs there. I've got used to the suspension now. I don't think it's as bad as I thought it was when I first got in. I think the last thing I drove before this was a Daimler 66, so perhaps a bit unfair of me to compare the suspension from a Jag to an R32, but coming down these back lanes, it is good. It is good. I know Barney absolutely adores the R32. And don't get me wrong, they are really good fun. You can absolutely hammer these things round corners, and they just do not give up. They just cling onto that road and put the power down. Ooh, bit of tail end there. All in good fun. I know someone in the comments told me to use the flappy paddles on this, and I don't see the point. Why? Why are they here? If it's an automatic, just make it an automatic. Other than the odd uphill section where the gearbox just can't quite make up its mind, and there's only one road around here that I know of that has really tricked this car up, I don't see the point. That's just me, maybe. I know some people love them. I felt the same way about the E46 CSL as well. Just put a manual gearbox on it. Not this flappy paddle nonsense here. I don't like them. Well, now that I've suitably refreshed my memory of the DSG R32, I think it's time we get in the manual and see what that's all about. So I've just changed over into the manual R32, and I was driving around for a bit just to get to this location before I started rolling the camera. And in terms of driving experience, the difference is, I don't want to say night and day, but it is substantial. It really is. So much more engaging than the DSG, as you would hope, I would expect. This 6-speed manual, from takeoff, I wouldn't say that it feels any quicker. Volkswagen themselves say that the DSG can do 0 to 60 in 6.2 seconds, and the manual can do it in 6.5. But I think that's been topped by a few chaps who've documented this online as well. Max from Driven Plus being one of them. I think he managed 6.3 in the manual. So well done to Max. Even in my very incompetent hands, it feels alive, this car. That chassis is just brilliant. When you think these cars are nearly 20 years old now, that hurts. I feel that right in my back. Gear selection, very slick. Just loads of feel in there. You're not missing gears. The roads are atrocious. But wow, what a fantastic gearbox. Clutch pedal, so light, even for this 3.2 litres. I remember back in the day I had a 306 GTI 6 and the clutch pedal on that car was like shifting boulders. It was so heavy. Could have just been my car, mind you, but I've only ever had one of those. I remember when these came out. And of course, back then we were all still lusting over the Mark IV R32, which, if you were in college like I was at the time, was just the coolest thing in the world, and we all wanted one. But I think this sort of mid-early 2000s territory for Volkswagen really probably was the best of their efforts. They had some cracking cars. I mean, they were following on from the Mark III Golfs and the Corrado VR6. Volkswagen really did just stick it to the man when they decided to put V6 engines in these little hatchbacks. I'm glad they did. I love a V6. They are just brilliant. Much as I love a V8, I think V6 that's where it's at. I think that's that sweet spot of driving character, performance, power, without being as heavy as a V8 would, or needing quite as big a package to put it in. It's a bit sad, really, as well. This being the last generation of Golf that would have a 6-cylinder engine in it, that you could achieve that engine note from. Last of its breed. But what a swan song. What a swan song. In terms of out and out driving experience, the manual really is just a completely different league of its own. I don't think my hands have stayed still on this wheel for more than a few seconds at a time down these back lanes. All the time I'm just between third and fourth. In the DSG it was very easy to just stick it in drive and just steer and just enjoy and just stare out the window, and if you find yourself drifting off a little bit, just give that throttle a little blip and perk you back up again. But and I suppose that leads me on to my initial question for this video, which was, should a hot hatch have an automatic gearbox in it? I think, I don't quite build this, but I'm largely sure that Volkswagen actually sold more with the DSG than they did the manual. So enough people seem to think that, yes, an automatic gearbox in a hot hatch is perfectly fine. But I think if you want pure driving experience, if you like to go through the gears, you really can't beat this manual. If you were looking for a hot hatch to daily every day, then I can absolutely see why you might want the DSG from a pure comfort point of view and just everyday usability. If you're the kind of driver that likes to be engaged with your car, you love racking through gears, you love pushing rev limits, then absolutely get the manual, you'll have a great time. If you're going to daily this car, I can very much see the argument for wanting the DSG. It's alive enough when you want it to be, but if you've just done a 10-hour day at work and all you want is to get home, park yourself on the sofa and watch a bit of telly, then yes, the automatic is 100% the way to go. Is this a car that I would buy to tuck away in a garage and only use on the weekends as my toy? Probably not, for the sole reason that whilst it's fun to drive, it's got more than enough performance to be a weekend toy. It just doesn't excite me enough to treat it that way. It just doesn't excite me enough to make me... I don't look at the Golf sitting there and think, oh, I really want to drive that. I don't look at the Golf and just feel that burn to get in it and go and drive like I would with something maybe perhaps older, or dare I say it, not as well built. I kind of like a bit of danger in my weekend toys. it's an itch I've managed to scratch with various other things so far. You know, old French hot hatches, motorbikes, that kind of thing. But it is a car that I would think about dailying. I would daily a Golf, and I think it would do the job very well. Still, what a fantastic bit of kit this is. Let's do it again, shall we?